Okay, so now I'm going to go over to click on got it. So,
oh my goodness, end of September. I can't believe we made it.
It's been an intense couple of months over here with AnatomySCAPES and with me working directly with the Fascia Research Congress. But I'll let Nicole go ahead and just describe what's on their screen. Just give them a little roundabout view of what's on there.
So we just got back from Congress. I mean, it feels like yesterday, but I guess it's been a week and a half. The Fascia Research Congress is the 6th International Fascia Research Congress. It happens every 3 years, though, because of COVID, it had been 4 years. Yeah. So there was a buildup to this past one, where we got to geek out on all sorts of fascia science, fascia for movement, fascia, everything fascia, and really interact with people who are researching fascia, who are clinicians and practitioners who are working with fascia. And it was so perfect that this month's theme is what is fascia, because that is what we have been immersed in,
saturated for this past month.
So up on the screen, we have a collage of just some images we grabbed from all the pictures
of the week. Yeah. So I taught a pre-conference workshop this year along with my colleagues, Gary Carter, Lori Nemitz, and we also had a special guest who's the curator and CEO of the Heidelberg Plastination Institute for Plastination. She is the visionary that co-created Body Worlds. And it was amazing to have her there to be able to help us share the story of Freya, which you may very well be familiar with at this point. And if you're not, I encourage you to find out more. We'll be sharing a little bit more in the next month's stuff about Freya. But Freya is the world's first full body plastinate that highlights the fascial system. And she was displayed beautifully and very proudly at the Congress this year in a large exhibit that I co-created with the team to show plastinated fascia. So you'll see just a little picture of her there. We also produced a booklet that was given to each one of the delegates that attended. So from the Congress back to the world of, let me see, we got our slides up there. Yes, back to the world of AnatomySCAPES. Let's see if I get connected. We would like to extend an invitation to you that if we haven't already, to please join us in the lab here in San Diego. We're doing our very best as a women-owned company to create a different kind of workshop experience with the dissection lab than we've ever experienced. Being kinesthetic and visual learners, I think that the lab is the best place to deepen your knowledge, but there needs to be a place also to integrate that knowledge. So we spend half the time in the lab and half the time in the classroom, trying to really give opportunities for you to interact with the concepts, both in the way of movement, some, and crafts.
Crafting, that's right.
Crafting. But we find it to be so helpful for us. We are hoping that you'll find it to be the same.
Yeah, no, and it all, the movement, the kinesthetic element, the crafting is about bringing our full body and textures under our hands. We are body workers. Mm-hmm. It's our hands are everything. We're so used to sensing everything through our hands. So that's, to us, it's powerful. But we're also really excited. We're going to show you in a moment. We have our full year's calendar of workshops. We're so ready. 2 different ways to interact with us. You can come to our workshops that I just described to you, where we spend part of the time in the lab and part of the time in the classroom. So we get the academics of it, we get the physics of it, we get the textures of it, and we get the actual being in the lab and seeing real human tissue, where you get to do a lot of palpation, not the dissection. That takes a really long time. So primarily we do the dissecting, but then we step back constantly, letting you get your hands in there to interact, so you can feel these tissues in an unmuffled form, is what I like to say. We're always palpating through things. When we remove those superficial layers of whatever it is, it gives you a sense of what the bare experience is with those tissues, so that when you go back to palpating on living tissue again, you have that X-ray vision to be able to visualize and perceive textures at a much more highly refined rate. Do you have something you want to say? Yeah.
That's good. Okay.
That's great.
So the 2 ways. So the lab is one of them. Workshops are 2 days long, and we have 3 different types of 3 labs that we have developed. And the other way is the dissection club. And the dissection club is our answer to those who have had some dissection experience and are just eager to get back in the lab. Or if you've been to one of our workshops and you're ready to now take it to the next level and do some exploring yourself, you can either assist us in the research projects that we're working on every single month, Or we can actually guide you into your own dissection experience where you can even take the lead and create your own exploration if you have a particular area of interest. Each month it varies based on what specimens we have available to us as to what we'll be doing. But we're trying to work with the lab to get some planning ahead of time so that we can find out what it is that will be there so we can entice you to come. So that's what we've got kind of in the works.
Yeah.
So, ta-da, drum roll, dissection club dates. So these are 1-day commitments. They're very small commitment, both monetarily and time, which is something else that we find really lacking. The dissection space is a highly regulated area, and very few people are given access unless you're involved with a university program or some other training program. This is a skills lab that we work with, and they're very motivated to give opportunities to hands-on professionals that are licensed professionals like yourselves to come into the lab and be able to have that guided experience with true human cadavers, fresh tissue, unembalmed, which is a whole nother ball game. It has advantages and disadvantages compared to embalmed tissue, but I find the advantages for me outweigh. I really, really enjoy working with fresh tissue.
Yeah, and particularly the structures we want to work with in terms of really highlighting the fascial system. The fresh tissue is phenomenal.
It is, because the translucency and the suppleness and the interactions of the gentleness of fascia's interaction is, I think, more easy to perceive in an unembalmed state. The kind of chemical cooking basically is what formaldehyde does. It does take the tissue into a much tougher state, which is easier to handle in some respects, but a little bit less true to living life forms. So here's the dates for those of you that cannot see the screen. We have our 22 club dates. We still have 3 opportunities this year for you to come live into the lab with us. San Diego is a great place to visit. So if you're not from here, you can just come for a quick couple day stay. So we have October 20th. These are all Thursdays, correct?
I believe so.
October 20th, write them down, September 17th, and December 15th. So those are our 3 dates that we have scheduled, and we would love to have you join us. If you have interest in coming to more than one lab, there is actually a package discount that you can buy that expires after 1 year, but that you can come to multiple classes and save a significant amount.
And again, those are 2022 dates, and we'll have the 2023 dates for the club up sometime soon. So this is our hope. This is our plan. I know, cross your fingers for us that in October, and we'll be actually exploring the shoulder and specifically looking at myofascial relationships within the shoulder. And we're hoping to be
anterior, posterior,
chest to deltoid and in the back, and looking at that whole unit. So that's tentative.
We'll
Fingers
see.
crossed.
We've inquired. I will tell you that it's with almost 100% certainty we will be working with the torso. Our biggest question is whether or not that torso will be including their scapula and their humerus. Because of the fact that they always try to make the most out of the donation, these bodies are oftentimes not full. They take sections and we'll send them to different schools for different elements of study. So it's a little bit different, not working on a full body cadaver, but it is the most, it's getting the most out of the donation, and it's not as wasteful of just doing one area and then not using the rest. And these donors have really made a big decision by deciding to allow their remains to be used for academic study. And so they make the most of that. So we oftentimes will just have a portion, but a torso is pretty much guaranteed. So for sure, we'll be looking at either the back or the chest for sure. If we're lucky, we'll be looking at that in relationship specifically to the shoulder joint. Ta-da! And next, lab workshops. So these are the 2-day experiences. Here's a few pictures on the screen for those of you that can see it. You see Jane is in that one. Actually, she's in most of them.
3 of them. That's right.
One of our locals, of course. It's easier for her to get to the lab, but she's also helped us with some presenting as well, because Jane is a wealth of knowledge, and especially in the movement area as well as a professional dancer. So we love having our creative teams come together. All right, here's the list. So if you want to jot them down or go to the website, save yourself the time, AnatomySCAPES, not FasciaScapes, AnatomySCAPES.com. So we have these 3 workshops. I'll just say them briefly and then let's get into our class for today, the rooted spine. So we want to talk not just about the spine, but really how the spine roots into the pelvis. And so we kind of renamed this one. It's similar to the work that we've done working with the pelvis, but to give people kind of a broader concept of to how it is that we're looking at the fascial relationships as the spine becomes the pelvis, becomes the legs. So that whole region that we'll be looking at. That's our posterior view. The next one is orbiting the core. So we've come up with some new names on this because we want to give sort of the concepts of it. The core is sort of a weird mystery location, like where is your core? Some people think it just means your trunk. Other people think it means like the deep muscles of the spine. Others would say, well, it's your abs. So, well, we're going to look at actually all of those. So showing the three-dimensional view of how our core interacts with itself and abdominally and pelvically.
Including some viscera in that one.
Yes, that one's a
go
fun one.
Into the abdominal cavity and look at some viscera,
which is a whole other experience in itself. And then a new class that none of you have taken yet because we're just still developing it. It's called Journey into the Matrix. Ooh. So this is, of course, the fascial matrix that we're talking about. And it's going to be a more overview course that may actually look at multiple regions in the body that we can talk about how the fascia is interacting with those tissues, what structures are significant, where the myofascial expansions are, where there's loose connective tissue, where there's dense, and just sort of getting into the story and the science of the fascial system body-wide. So January 11th and 12th, January 17th and 18th, those are the first two courses, Rooted Spine and Orbiting the Core. We put these kind of back to back. If you are coming from out of town, you can kind of make a week-long vacation out of it and have a couple days off in between the courses. So we have a lot of interest from people that are actually in Europe, but they want to make use of the time that they're here. So we've developed this course in a way that they can take a longer trip and come and take two courses with us, almost back to back, but with a little time in between. And then the Journey into the Matrix courses, March 8th and 9th, May 3rd and 4th. There's two of them. And then in September, we're going to go back to the Rooted Spine again on September 20th and 21st. And Orbiting the Core will be on the 17th and 18th of October.
And there we have 2023.